Oh, hey. Hey, Gear Geeks. What's happening? Hey, I want to talk about Rick Beato. Perfect ear pitch, where you're able to hear a tone, hear a note, and be able to call it out. Now, there's ways to get around this. It's not necessarily needed, and I find people who could strum a chord and tell you every note in that chord, it kind of boxes them in sometimes. They can't, sometimes if they're really good at it, can't think outside the box, I've found. Rick Beato, his son's 5 years old, any kind of chord, could tell you all the notes, what the root notes are for that, and he's awesome. It's great. But not everybody's able to do that. Actually, very few people is able to do it. There's ways to get around this. There's also, you could take your tuner and just little short of B. So I'm always just a little half step below. And I can do that with all the notes. Not all the notes. I'm good with G, A, B, and D. And the way I do it is I think of a song like Diary of a Madman from Ozzy Osbourne. Dun, dun. That's E, open A. Dun, dun. So I'm usually a little bit flat. I'm not going to bother you. But that's how I practice it. But when I hear a guitar play and I try to like figure out a song, I'm not very good at it. Actually, I really suck. And the only way I'm able to get around this is using intervals. Intervals, so you can practice. Intervals, understanding where the note is and where you can go from there. And your ear can hear, and this is where perfect pitch gets kind of strange. So if you're going to some extreme progressions in a chordal thing, sometimes with a perfect pitch, they're like, oh, that's wrong, you can't do that. And if you're very harmony based, I'm very harmony based, so I'll go off on a tangent and sometimes forgetful, I'll forget where I'm supposed to go back to. It's great for jazz. It's great for improvisation. And I find jamming, something we used to do a lot in the past, is not something that's done so much anymore. And having a perfect ear pitch can be worked around. And we're going to do intervals. And what are intervals? Oh, I just want to show you. I'm taking a break. I'm doing some new pots and some I changed the pickups out too. They're the pearly gates. I'm going to put a new pick guard. Anyways, I'm just it's a project, you know, I should be practicing. So we moved our fun over to the piano. So this is what we're doing. On the piano, as you don't know or do know, all the white notes are full notes. And all the black notes are your sharps or flats. So unlike a guitar where it's all laid out the same, you don't know what they are. The piano shows you. Sharps and flats are the black. All the whole notes are in white. And if you didn't know, you'll see that there's a couple whole notes that are together without any black in between. It happens twice, right here and right here. It continues, but within one octave, it happens twice. And it's always the same notes, C and B, E and F. So these two have to be C or B, which they are, and this is E or an F. And then it happens again, C and B, E and F. So it kind of makes it easier on the keyboard piano this way. Unlike a fretted guitar, a fretted instrument. But then the fretted instruments have a lot of, like scales. Like on a scales on a guitar, the fingering on the guitar is the same no matter what note, root note you change. But on this, it's different every time because the way it's laid out. So there's some difficulties and some pluses either way. But what I want to show you is how to train your ear intervally which is a huge thing if you play piano, interval training. So I did that like forever, growing up and taking classes, but I never thought about ear training the actual note where I could pick them out of a chord. You know, it wasn't until YouTube I'm like, whoa, look at that. And I went to college and everything. I'm sure they talked about it, but it wasn't like emphasized as much as intervals. With intervals, once you hear the root note, the next note is a solid step up. So you could train your ear to hear the differences between the, and then another step. So this is the first, second, third. So moving it up to the third here of this root note. So you could train your ear to understand the differences between those notes, or the distance, the tonal difference between those two notes. This is Western music, and in Asian music, they play with the tones in between these notes that we have. So we just have these whole notes and this one in between. They have a lot of in betweens. So their ears are a lot more well developed. But so for us, it should be easier where you hear the root note, just hearing any root note, and then realizing that's just a step up. Another step up, right? Well, half step, but still whole step, whole step. Or you can hear the half step here. Ready? So yeah, you're like, oh yeah, it sounds more creepier. That's cool. Right, and you can hear that. The difference is the intervals involved. So with intervals, playing with intervals, you start hearing the difference between the first, the third, the fifth. And that makes up a chord. Let me get over here so it sounds better. So half step, full step. So you get the idea. If you practice interval training and not worry so much about picking out a note out of nowhere, going, oh yeah, let me just pick this note out of nowhere and then know what it is and no reference. So reference in your mind a note, pick a song that you're really, if you're a musician, there's a song that you really like and you can replicate that in your brain. You pick that note in your brain, you get your tuner out, and you can execute it in your voice, no matter low or high. It's usually better with the tuners high. They could pick it up better because they're used to guitars, unless you get a bass tuner. I'm talking too much. So you understand what I'm getting at. And that will get you into the range of what the note is. And you could pick it out. But if you want to jam with somebody or do some cool creative songwriting, it's not so much the perfect pitch, I find, that's going to get you there, as much as having interval ear training. Okay, so here, that was it. Don't want to overly, I can't think of a better word, preach. It's not what I mean to say, but you know what I mean. That's, my point is the same. So I just don't want to overly, but that's it. Thank you. And you guys have fun and try it out. Try some interval training, and you'll find, like I said, it's one of the bigger things that we did in college on the piano. All right, Gear Geeks, you guys take care. And I'm going to turn on the soldering iron. I have no more excuses. This was my last excuse. Oh, gosh. All right, take care.